Step 1, wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Yo, set your affirmations, aspirations. I got shit to do, the aftermath of preparation. Good food, good mood, blood in circulation. One step at a time, yeah, that's how you make it. Set a goal you control and the steps you take them. I try to pick one thought, have some concentration. And if I make a mistake, it's called education. I try to do this every day, call it replication. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 So life ain't easy, yo, I think there's a reason though. Ups and downs, just like every different season, yo. Sometimes I'm high, other times I'm barely breathing, though. I always gotta fight and hide from the demons, yo. Negative thoughts are poison, they rot. Head full of flies, so here come the clouds. They'll never stop unless I can swap all the bad for the good in my head when I'm lost. Yeah, so I'ma fake it till I make it. Positive thoughts are overtaken, I got patience. One day at a time is how you operate a cadence. A flow, you grow, you show yourself a foundation. Stay away from all the shit that causes temptation. I know that I like to do it cause it's sensation. I live my life in my head like a narration. Don't expect greatness, do my best, man, I'll take it. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.
Wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Say this right here, baby, because some of y'all be acting like y'all don't be seeing it. But, baby, playing victim in a situation that you created, oh, yeah, baby, that's narcissistic as hell to me. Hello, somebody. How you gonna create the storm, then get mad when it rain? How you hurt somebody and then get mad that they hurt? How you damage somebody, go outside your way to destroy a person and then get mad when they no longer want to deal with you? Baby, playing a victim in a situation that you created, oh, baby, that's narcissistic as hell to me. I'm sorry, but it is.
Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty Coffee Club.
As you wake up in the morning, you want to find the latest, greatest information about criminal cases and have an intuitive conversation about the suspects associated with these cases. Head over to the Bullhorn Betty channel on YouTube. breaking news right here on the Bullhorn Betty channel. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty Coffee Club. Enjoy your stay and enjoy your day.
Hello, my beautiful people of YouTube. It's nice to see you bright and early this Saturday morning. As I said, starting next week, Monday, we are going to be starting our show at our regular normal hour. Now that kids are back in school and, playtime is over, we will be getting back to our 6:30 time. But, Wednesday and Thursday might be a little bumpy. We can't guarantee we're going to start on time on Wednesday or Thursday, but I can say we're going to be on time the rest of this time. We'll be here tomorrow. I'm not sure what time. It'll be Sunday. It's going to most likely be after church, probably in the late afternoon, early evening hours, when we will be live on Sunday. Monday, I'm not sure what our topic of discussion is, but as promised for today, we have been working on a new flyer for Layla Santanello to hopefully there's missing some information, so I'm working on getting just some additional information about Layla Santanello, and then I'm going to be ordering a bunch of flyers, probably 500 a box of flyers. And we're going to be getting those printed up, and we're going to order them. I'm going to be sending them somewhere in Kingsport for the family, somebody in the family to pick up the box of flyers. Hopefully, I know we can't do, I wish we could do a lot more. I wish we had time to do a lot more. I wish I had time to do a banner. I wish I had time to do a number of things, but that's just not in, this time. We should have had these flyers out days ago. I didn't realize that they were kind of flying blind out there and didn't really have a whole lot of flyers. They have flyers. Let me just back up. There's flyers out there. It's just, in my opinion, her photo's too small. Her name's too small. It's just too small. So I'm trying to get it where it's blown up bigger. People can see her face and her features from a side angle as well as kind of in the front. I think that would be more beneficial. So we'll see. Like I said, I'm still working on it. It's not a done deal, but I'm hoping that in the next few hours I can have this finalized and to a printing company. So that's kind of the goal today. So good morning, Southern Grammy Wolf. It's nice to see you. Love is better than hating, as always. God bless you. Thank you for being here. Sonia, nice to see you. Which reminds me, I forgot to bring it in. You know what? Let me just take a moment. You guys just got to sit here. It's going to be worth it. It's going to be worth it. My new shirts have arrived. Aren't those so nice? So those have arrived. Let me get my plugs back in. Those have arrived. Thank you, Sonia. Beautiful lady. Don't forget. And I can tell you, if you guys have your own design and you want it on a shirt, reach out to Sonia. And look what she's got. I'm going to be using this, right? I will be using this everywhere. And so I just thought that was cute. So again, Sonia, thank you. You rock. JJ is in the house. Candy Apple, Van Lady. It's nice to see you this wonderful morning. GG for life, as always. Tashi, it's nice to see you as well. Who else do we have in here? Nobody else. Let's go home. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. Oh, I see Mac J in the house. It's nice to see you, love. So just to answer you, no, this is not a new motion to compel. This is we're going to be discussing, because this is really the entire argument right here. Like all of this is this third motion to compel. Every bit of this, believe it or not. And yes, I have read through every bit of this. But this is truly the argument of the motion to compel for both the state as well as the defense. So I figured, what better time? We know we're going to be hearing this. They're going to be arguing this. We know what they're going to be arguing for. The They're going in there for three different things, unless there's another modified notice of hearing between now and the 18th. But there were three items on the notice of hearing, and one was the indictment. They're challenging the indictment. The other one was the second motion to stay. Now that they're challenging the indictment, it's most likely going to need an evidentiary hearing. Ann C. Taylor is saying, hey, we want a full stay because the first stay was partial. It was only for the speedy trial clock to stop. Everything else is due and ongoing, and they're trying to stop all of this so they can have some time to digest and review the evidence. So a lot of things are moving quickly. So anyways, I figured that we already know what their arguments are there. They're most likely, depending on their arguments of this indictment, they're most likely going to get their stay, depending on the judge, and what the state says. So I thought this third motion to compel had a little more meat to the bones because it's an interesting argument. I mean, but we'll get into that. I don't want to get too far into it, but it's an interesting argument. The real me too. Good morning, love bug. It's nice to see you here, doll. JJ, good morning. Alabama mom of 4. It's nice to see you here. Cranky O Pinch. Cranky Pants always gets me in a good mood. I don't know how you do it. I guess you must be expelling all good stuff and must be taking in all bad stuff. I don't know. But it's nice to see you, love. Oh, Angie, it's great to have you here. Barbara, it's nice to see you, love. Who else do we have? You guys are just chatty Cathys today. Katrina, it's nice to see you. Happy to be here. Robert's girl. It's nice to see you too, love. Mac J, Jody, ICU is in the house. Well, ICU. Everybody else, it's great to have you. I think I saw Cool Gamer in here. Emma M, I see you guys now. Lulu's Nana, nice to see you. I smell like a rose. Nice to see you as well. Ruby's in the house. Who else? Is there anybody else? I know there's a lot of because you guys were typing for like 2 hours before we started. Sweetie Pie, I see you. Mary, it's nice to see you. Hug Lady, oh, it's nice having you over here. How you been? I hope you've been doing well. Kathleen, Opinion Einstein, interesting. Brown Chicken, good morning. Who else? Be like Betty, it's nice to see you, love. Who else? Mac J, JJ, SB, I see you, Pebbles. All right, we are through roll call. It's only been 13 minutes in, and a few minutes of that was the intro, so we did pretty good this morning. We have a great message on the language of letting go, but seeing how it's Saturday, well, I think we'll go ahead and read the language of letting go. It's pretty long-winded, but I think that the messaging is pretty powerful. It definitely, when I was reading this, it definitely resonated with me this morning. I can tell you, and Mama Bullhorn can probably attest to it too, that this really rings true. I mean, I guess I shouldn't say it, but Mom is always talking about our heritage. She's always talking about our history, and we've been literally, is the ads hitting up? They started that again. I thought they took that off. Either way, listen to this. So my mom is always talking about our heritage, always, forever, amen. Always talking about our heritage. And it's stories I hear over and over again. Like, I'm 43 years old, and obviously they're past stories, right? So they don't change. It's not like the story themselves or the plot line changes, right? So we've heard the story. So now when like my mom talks about our heritage and stuff, it's like, oh, here we go again, right? My mom knows I love her. My mom knows I love her. But this is why it resonated with me. This is why it resonated. So this is for August 12th, and it says, be grateful for where you've been. Earlier in this book, I suggested that you write your memoirs. Even if you don't sit down and do that, I'm going to suggest that you review your life. Reading my mother's memoir was a profound experience, one that touched my heart and brought compassion in, into it in a way I hadn't been able to experience from all my family of origin work. As a child, I'd shut down when my mother would talk about her experiences, excuse me. I turn off the listening device. It sounded like grumbling and complaining to me. I didn't want to hear about her pain. But when I read about her life story in a life story form, I experienced a different response. I was able to read it objectively and not like a daughter or a person feeling guilty because I wish she hadn't had all the pain she did. I saw how directly her experiences had created and shaped who she was. I was it, I saw the desire of her heart. I saw her tragedies, her broken dreams. I also saw her heroism. My snippy little reactions, the irritating mother-daughter stuff, vanished in a new light. She was no longer a mother who had issues. She was a human being, nobly living her life. Like the rest of us, she had her frailties, her vulnerable areas, and her strong points. The point here isn't for you to read about my mother. It's for you to take a little look at your life and all your experiences you've been through, endured, survived, and then transcended. When I wrote my life story, I resisted at first. I hadn't enjoyed that much going through it. I didn't want to relive all those experiences. But something happened in the actual writing. It was similar to what happened when I read my mother's account of her life. I began to see myself and what I had been through differently in a new and more compassionate light. Each experience, each decade, each chapter in the book taught me something vulnerable and valuable. From each experience I'd been through, I reclaimed or discovered new insight and power. Maybe much of what I preferred to forget or turn my back on wasn't the waste in my life I thought it was. What a beautiful story each of us has. Whether your experience ever make it into a book, it is still your book of your life. You're grateful for each chapter that you've lived. Are you grateful for each experience you have? And are you grateful for the story you're reliving now? The good news is the story of our life hasn't ended yet. There's still more to come. Touch the experience of being human in all of its sorrows and joy. Be grateful for the story you're living now. Sorry guys, it's long. God help me laugh, cry, love, and be aware, and be thankful with all the heart for every moment, every experience that I've been given. Thank you for my life. I thought that was really a good reading. I really did. It's empowering. And I think we all have a story, a very good story, even with all of our triumphs and all of our sorrows. I thought it was powerful. So I thought I would share. So getting on with this morning and just going to dive right into it. As you know, we're doing our best to try to get a good flyer together for Layla Santanello and get that out there. And I just really want to bring you guys back to her and just advocate for her. Again, this is a girl that went missing over a month ago. It's a little scary at this moment because she still hasn't been seen or heard from her friends or her family. Her mother is desperately looking for her whereabouts. We've heard that there was a house that was searched, which never looks good. As of August 1st, TBI got involved. They did an endangered person. This is out and about, and she still hasn't been heard or seen from. So it's becoming a real concern of her safety. It's been a real concern of her safety, of course, but as each day passes, it's even more and more of a help, of this. And they do have the GoFundMe. I'm not sure who's running that. Um, but I before we start posting the GoFundMe, I want to make sure that it's the correct GoFundMe that's being disseminated here on this channel. So just give me a little bit, and I will make sure that we have a good GoFundMe page. Oh, thank you, Lulu's Nana. God bless you. Um, but let's just get a good GoFundMe, and then I'll get the link posted for those that would like to help support Layla's mother and family as they're enduring this. You can only imagine. We heard that her mother has 3 teenagers, also has her daughter. So she's taking care of 4 kids right now. And she's trying to desperately search for her daughter. And I don't even want to know how hopeless and helpless her mother must be feeling right now. So anything that we can do to take off her plate, that's really what I'd like to do. So Skittles True Crime, thank you. God bless you. I appreciate it. So we're just going to go through a few different things. We didn't have a whole lot of time to kind of designate in here, but her last post was with her daughter on May 4th, and it just seemed to be a beautiful, happy time that everybody cherished on May 4th. Her daughter obviously ecstatic to see her, lots of smiles, just a good, wholesome time. And then just a few months later. So I found this one. This is one that we haven't heard, and I thought we would play it here.
But first, I want to say thank you to every single person that shared and liked and commented and asked questions and started doing things on their own. I'm even grateful for the people who are digging into my life and picking me apart right now, because the more we talk about Layla, the better the chances of us finding her. I am completely overwhelmed with how many people gave a crap. I had been posting on other platforms for a month, and a week ago I got tired of it. I got tired of feeling like nobody cared, and I started doing the most. Every day that goes by, I get more and more worried. In the beginning, I thought that maybe she, maybe she just was taking some time to herself. I really fully expected for her to walk through my door, for her to call my phone. I fully 100% believed that was going to happen. I didn't think that we would be 6 weeks out. Nothing. I just wanted to hop on here and say thank you. I'm not good at this. I'm not a face in the camera person, so you'll have to excuse me if I kind of try to avoid it. It makes me nervous, but I know that I have to do the uncomfortable things right now. Thank you all so much. There are updates. I just can't really talk about specific things just yet. The minute that I can, I will. Again, thank you so much. Hi.
There we go. So again, I just really, really, really just want to get Layla's face out there. Anything that anybody can really do to advocate for her, please do. Please be talking about her in those chat rooms, because, let's just say this is not going to turn out well. Okay, let's just play devil's advocate here. Right now, we're hopeful. We need as much information coming into the Kingsport Police Department, as well as TBI, legitimate information, not skeptical information, not whether have you thought about this or thought about that. Legitimate leads, legitimate information needs to be going to Kingsport Police Department as well as TBI. So I feel, that if we can just get her stuff out there, but, also on the flip side, if this doesn't turn out well, we need all those leads coming in, especially if they saw her or saw somebody like her in the area that they're looking for, those are huge, and they can use those, especially if something has happened to her. So we want to get as much ring door footage into law enforcement. We would want to be, and this is going to be around that June 26th to June 28th time frame. They're going to want to know where she was. They're going to want to look into all of her, her footsteps and everything like that. But in all fairness, it sounded like at this moment she was desperate. She had slept out in the field behind the hotel. She had no shoes on. There was somebody at the Marble Slab Creamery that gave her nourishment and water. So we have to put ourselves in her position. Maybe she called somebody she wouldn't have normally called for help because she needed help. And maybe she didn't want to call her mom and inform her mom on what was going on and concern her mother. Her mother's talked about how independent she is, so she probably would have not called her mom to pick her up or whatnot. We don't know. What we do know is that she was seen in a few places. We know that she slept behind the hotel in the woods, and we know that she was barefoot when she left and heading to Five Below for flip-flops. It's being reported that she never made it to Five Below for the flip-flops. So what happened between the time she left the Marble Slab Creamery to her trip to, Five Below? It seems like maybe somebody she might have called. Did she call somebody when she got to that creamery? Obviously, they were very caring for her. They gave her nourishment, most likely some water and maybe a little something to eat. They also may have let her use their phone if she didn't have her cell phone with her, or allow her to charge her cell phone if she didn't have her cell phone with her. But either way, this is, again, Layla Santanello. She is still missing. She's been missing since the 27th. The last time we have any reports of somebody seeing her was on June 27th. As many of you know, today is August 12th. It's been a while. It's definitely a grave concern for everybody involved. And you see her mother is just beside herself with grief and emotion at the moment, doing everything she can to fight for her daughter and to find out answers. Her mother seems broken to me. Her heart is just shattered in a million pieces. She's probably not sleeping. She's probably not eating. And she still has to run on absolutely no energy and take care of 4 kids, one that's a toddler. So if you think you're having a bad day, you're not. Your day is somebody else's cakewalk. Your bad day is somebody else's cakewalk. But for the grace of God, right? All right, guys, thanks for sticking around as I started, wanted to advocate for Layla Santanello. And again, that's in Kingsport, Tennessee, Kingsport Police Department and TBI, 1-800-TBI-FIND. If you have any information to her location or her whereabouts, please call those leads in. Her family needs you. Law enforcement needs you. Be the hero. Be the hero. So getting on to Bryan Kohberger, let's just have a quick rundown of what brought us to this topic and where we're at. Okay, so those people, I know everybody most likely knows who Bryan Kohberger is, but for those people that are just now starting out their research or just now getting involved with this case, let's give them an idea of what's going on. So on November 13th, 2022, 4 people were killed in a house on the outskirts, off-campus housing on the outskirts of the University of Idaho. Reports came out within 24 hours that the victims of this crime were Kaylee Gonzalez and Maddie Mogan. Both were 21 years of age. Ethan Chapin and Xander Kernodle, which were each 20 years of age. And this case just made everybody go almost lose their mind of who it could be, because statistically, something like this in a normal environment would mean that it's somebody that they know. Due to the level of depravity in the crime. We'll say that. Um, it appeared to be almost overkill, which again is very personal. So all the information we had were indicating and statistically would indicate that somebody that knew them carried out this crime. So a lot of people obviously focused their attention without a whole lot of research to back it up other than the statistical information. So they started pointing the fingers at all of these kids in and around Maddie, Xana, Ethan, and Kaylee, and pointing the finger at them hard and digging into them really, really deep. The family of Kaylee Gonzalez, had people already on campus, family members, they're a large family. It sounds to me like through their the friendships that Kaylee had, her boyfriend, as well as the family's due diligence, they came across and located the grub truck footage, which showed where they were after they left the corner club, happy, healthy, not fearful. They were able to locate the exact time that they were able to come home. And this is all happening at the very beginning of the case. And so on December 30th, this is the day that the Gonzalez and Mogan family put on a private event for both of the girls, a celebration of life in Coeur d'Alene, was the day that Bryan Kohberger was named the suspect in this case. And many of us scratched our heads and said, where did he come from? Well, we're now learning through the trial and the affidavit of probable cause and now all the pretrial pleadings, where some of this information came from. Where did no, that is absolutely incorrect. And I would suggest you go back and review all of my footage on there. Her family, no. But I did accuse of the kids of having having more knowledge than what they were saying, which ends up being accurate, and that somebody else most likely was driving that car. That has never been disputed. That has never been corroborated either, one way or the other. We do not know. So I would suggest maybe. Uh oh, I got you. Can somebody hold on? I blocked the wrong person. It must have moved up. Hold on. Let me unblock. Unhide user. Okay. I don't know if somebody else got the other message. Thank you, Pebbles. I ended up hitting the wrong person. Sorry, Skittles. I hate you. But either way, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I would suggest you get your facts straight first and foremost, and maybe do that before you call somebody a hypocrite and look like an idiot on somebody's channel. I mean, that would be my suggestion. But either way, Bryan Kohberger was caught, and we're watching all this play out. So we now know that Bryan Kohberger was seen at the Wazoo campus by an officer when they were looking for cars that could potentially be a Hyundai. They thought it was a Hyundai Elantra. So he actually came to law enforcement's attention around November 29th, like the early morning hours around midnight that night, a little after midnight. So fast forwarding forward, there was DNA on a knife sheath, and that DNA has now sparked this entire conversation of the motion to compel. So the motion to compel is related to the investigative, not the DNA on the snap of the knife sheath. It's not challenging that. It's not challenging the DNA match from the state of Idaho. It's not. They're not challenging that. The challenge of this motion, this third motion to compel, is specifically related to all the evidence associated with the investigative genetic genealogy and the family tree that was created that pointed the law enforcement or provided a lead to law enforcement that Bryan Kohberger's father was somewhat of a match some sort of a match to the DNA sampling that was on the sheet. But what the state is saying is that was not what brought us to Bryan Kohberger. We're not planning on introducing any of that information into the case, and therefore we're not turning it over. We don't have to turn it over. Furthermore, right? Furthermore, under the United States Department of Justice protocol, we're required to, once we're done, we're required to remove everything out of the system and destroy anything related to the DNA profile, and everything else. It was attached to the protocol is listed on this document right here, which is the United States of Justice Interim Policy on Forensic Genetic Genealogy, DNA Analysis, and Searching. So the federal government basically realizes we have these databases of people that want to learn about their heritage, want to learn about their family tree. It was a really big, interesting thing. Of course, I'm interested in that kind of stuff as well, and probably more so at a younger age, for a variety of reasons, none that are relevant here. Um, but obviously, it's a resource that can be used by law enforcement, and they actually use this resource, but the state attorney doesn't want to give it to the defense. So I'm kind of at odds with this whole entire argument, and this is why I wanted to discuss it today, because both arguments seem legit. On one hand, the defense is like, wait a minute, you guys tested his DNA and you went outside of your state lab to do some creative testing with the genetic genealogy testing, and you're not going to provide us anything, nothing. You're not going to give us a report. You're not going to give us the family tree. You're not going to. You're just you think you don't have a right to turn this over to the defense. So I understand the defense's argument. I tried, and if nothing more, this does this does help. These prices are outrageous. Look at those prices; they're absolutely outrageous. I don't need to cuss that bad. I don't need to cuss that bad. Oh Lord, I break the bank. I break the bank. But so I understand the argument. Sorry, keep hitting the space bar. So I understand the argument that they need it and want it, and in all reality, the rules of evidence aren't what you produce as evidence. It's even if you produce that as evidence, it doesn't mean that it's admissible under a court of law. So even though they have it, they see it, they can read it, they may not even they may not even be able to introduce it into evidence. So I'm wondering, it's a little concerning for me to see a state attorney fight so hard to keep, basically, he's got a motion for protective order. I'm holding that motion for protective order in my hand, and we went over this. And it's basically saying they need a motion for protective order because the genetic genealogy produced many people as possible familial DNA to Bryan Kohberger. And therefore, they need a motion to protect these hundreds of people that were produced, that they should not be involved in this case, nor even potentially introduced as witnesses or on any official documents presented into the court. So I understand that too. Like they did this genetic genealogy, and Aunt Millie, that's been twice removed on Bryan Kohberger's mother's side, shouldn't have to be, you know, involved in this case, especially since she's probably never even laid eyes on Bryan Kohberger in her life and doesn't even know she's related to Bryan Kohberger. So I understand the need for the motion for protective order. So both of these people are having, good arguments, but which argument is going to prevail? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, and it depends on how well they argue. But I can tell you by the paperwork that's been submitted so far, I see why we're having to have the judge rule on this, because we have two outstanding arguments on this investigative genetic genealogy testing, and moreover, the state's also saying that's not what derived us to Bryan Kohberger's front door. This is not what we were standing on as to confirm that this was Bryan Kohberger and Bryan Kohberger's DNA. So even with this motion for protective order, shortly thereafter, we have this defendant's third motion to compel discovery. So they asked for this stuff from the genetic genealogy testing, and the state responded by saying no and immediately filing a motion for protective order to prevent that from being disclosed. And so then Nancy Taylor goes on and decides to create her own affidavit. This is around June 22nd. Outlining the defense has requested all DNA, including the 3 additional unidentified male DNA profiles developed during the course of law enforcement's investigation. We cannot forget, what did I tell you that they're going to most likely have to do here? Okay, now we're coming back to stuff we read months ago, right? We reread this most likely on the 23rd or 24th to our audience of June, over a month ago. So I doubt that you guys remember what was in this, because honestly, as much reading as I've done to this case, like I've literally have a 5,000 sheets of paper in my office related to Bryan Kohberger's case. You're talking about a full box of paper is sitting in my office of this case. So for me to remember this, and I can't even imagine all you guys out there, right? You guys are on YouTube and other social medias, and in every place that you guys go, you're getting new information. And when you get new information, a lot of the other information that you remembered early on is now out of your brain, because now you have all this new information you're trying to process. Well, getting back to this, it's starting to make sense, because think about it. We've been talking about this alibi, right? We've been talking about Bryan Kohberger's alibi. The state has requested Bryan Kohberger and his defense team to turn over the alibi. She gave this weird response, the reply, which really wasn't a response to an alibi. It should have been couched as an objection to the alibi. And then the state is compelling them for the alibi, and the defense is saying, no, we're going to object now. So the whole alibi theory, we have a funny feeling, because they're saying, at first they're saying, we're going to prove that Bryan Kohberger was in a completely different place and time. However, that's going to be drawn out through the evidence and through cross-examination of the expert witnesses. Basically, a whole bunch of word salad with nothing substantial to back it up. And that's why the state said, yeah, that's not going to fly with us. And so you start seeing that objection arise, where now they're forced to put him in that car driving around the night that these girls, and trust me, the defense does not want to concede that he was in his car by himself driving around town that time of night in the area where these kids were killed, and where his DNA just subsequently was found on a knife sheath left at the scene. So this is a huge concession for the defense that nobody, like I would think that that our mainstream media and anybody that's on YouTube or other social media that knows how this stuff goes would realize, like, this is a huge thing. And so when you go back to this, because again, we forgot about this document, right? We're now over a month into this. We forgot what Nancy Taylor said in her affidavit in support of the motion to compel. And what is the one thing I said? That they're going to most likely have to go with a plan B. They're going to have to introduce somebody else into this case, either by way of a co-conspirator, co-defendant, or by a way of an anonymous person totally unrelated to Bryan Kohberger. But they're going to have to introduce a second person into this matter. So then when we go back to this affidavit and you crack it open, like literally the very first thing there is almost identifying their trial strategy here. Even though they're doing it to peek under the hood as to what was in that investigative genealogy database, right? They're saying, hey, the defense has requested all the DNA, including the 3 additional unidentified male DNA profiles developed during the course of this investigation. So now we have 3 unidentified, and you can kind of start seeing the stepping stones that they're preparing here. Okay, here's the stepping stones. Good morning. Good morning, Shannon. Good morning, Cindy. Good morning, Jennifer. It's nice to see you, O Lady O. It's great having you here. So now you're starting to see the stepping stones. Now let's think about this. Now, if they can get this stepping stone, if they can say and push for this investigative genetic genealogy testing database work that was done specifically for Bryan Kohberger, was it also done for one of these 3 unidentified male DNAs? So if they can actually move the needle and get the state to turn over that investigative genetic genealogy testing for Bryan Kohberger, do you think once they make that leap, they're not going to make the leap of, did you do this for the other 3 unidentified male DNAs? And if so, where's their family tree? You see how this is going? This is going to expand and expand and expand. So this is kind of where I think this is going. They're starting to set themselves up. They've got to find a fall guy. They have to find a fall guy. I believe Bryan Kohberger did this. I personally believed he acted alone in this. But just because I personally believe he acted alone in this matter doesn't mean that that's exactly what happened. That's my opinion. I believe he acted alone. It doesn't mean he did. And it brings up these questions of the other 3 unidentified DNA profiles. And I can see that this is starting to set up very nicely for a fall guy, a plan B. So we're going through here, and not only does she say that, she's seeking internal conversations. So, I mean, this is really deep stuff. Like she's inquiring about internal conversations about this process. And I'm unsure if there is any like work product privilege, if there's any, attorney-client privilege with some of this stuff that they can, attach to this request, because that seems like it's borderline related to, there may be some stuff that they have to turn over, but there's going to be a lot of stuff that they're not going to be able to turn over. She goes on to say that the counsel for Mr. Kohberger has reviewed the materials provided in the case regarding the DNA testing, laboratory reports, benchmark notes, and photographs. Further, experts in the field of genetic genealogy and DNA have consulted and offered information and guidance. The state acknowledges that it uses genetic genealogy testing in this case, but claims it doesn't have to produce the records in the specific request for discovery. The defense disagrees. The testing conducted was done in a private lab. This is important because in the get the right paperwork here. In the state's response, I don't know what I did with it, but in the state's response, they basically attached this affidavit. I don't know if you guys remember this affidavit or not, but it's the affidavit of Rylene Nolan. And it was just very simply put, because there's 2 different kinds of DNA, and I'm not going to confuse you, but one is that what is like the standard that the state labs use, and another is a different type of test that goes to the genetic genealogy databases to be tested. You can't take this test and plug it into their system. You have this test here, there has to be another test done or converted, and then that has to go over to the genetic genealogy companies to run through their system. So they're basically saying, so in this, and I'm not going to read through it all to you. I'm just going to summarize what it says. It basically says, look, the state lab doesn't use this SNP profile. They use SNP, they use STR, which is that rapid interval testing type of stuff. That's what they use. So they just basically put together an affidavit saying, this, I don't know why this is an issue. The state of Idaho does not use this kind of testing. We use our own testing, our reliable testing that gives us reliable responses. That's basically what they're saying. Is this sufficient, though, to overcome the motion to compel? I have to think that the defense is a little concerned about the motion to compel, because this is the affidavit in support of the protective order, right? That's trying to protect this investigative genetic genealogy. It's just literally 2 pages, and it basically says, I work for the Idaho State Lab. I'm a tester. I do DNA, and I attest that we do not use the STR. It says, I affirm DNA casework analysis is nuclear short tandem repeats, which is the STR, as part of the Meridian Laboratory scope of accreditations. STR are not short repeating DNA sequences that are short repeating DNA sequences that are highly variable between individuals, and are used in forensic science to differentiate between individuals, including between related individuals. I affirm their laboratory, the Idaho State Lab. She says, I affirm that the laboratory does not perform the singular nucleotide polymorphism, which is the SNP analysis that's used for the investigative genealogy databases. So they're basically just saying, hey, we don't use it. I don't know what to tell you. We didn't do this. And if many of you know, they didn't. It was the FBI. So again, I don't know how all this is going to be argued, but it's definitely, without a doubt, very interesting argument. The state is basically saying they didn't do that. They received it as a lead. They shouldn't be beholden to someone turning in a lead, even though that someone would just happen to be the FBI that actually did the research. So it's a little convoluted. But they're saying that they don't have it. However, Nancy Taylor does not only have her affidavit in support of the motion to compel, which is pretty lengthy, by the way. I mean, it's well over 20, potentially 20 pages. So we have that. Yeah, it's potentially over 20 pages for her affidavit. But then you don't just have her affidavit. Then you also have the affidavit of Bicka Barlow. Remember, she was the attorney expert witness in DNA and basically just alleging the abuse of the genetic genealogy databases by law enforcement. That basically is what her entire huge package of affidavit was basically saying. It was condemning law enforcement and saying that they're abusing the process. But it's kind of hard to say they're abusing the process when you have that report from the Department of Justice telling them exactly how that they're allowed to conduct this search and this research, and they followed that to the T. So I don't understand where they're getting, going by. But again, this is an argument from the defense. So they're trying to change the law and say that, we think it's improper for law enforcement to use this tool, even though other people do it. But California, doesn't do this. In Maryland, we got to throw Maryland in there and talk about all these other states' laws where they don't even mimic Idaho's criminal law. Somehow those criminal law things related to DNA should come into an Idaho state court, is basically what they're stating. They further state with Bicka Barlow's motion, she knows all of this stuff. She was in the public defender's office, so she has a passion for defense. She's been retained as a Strickland expert. For those that are unfamiliar, what a Strickland expert is, it's basically an unbiased person. I don't think that her affidavit in any stretch of the imagination was unbiased in the least. And then you have the affidavit from, who was it? Stephen Mercer. Remember this? And he spends his entire time in this whole entire affidavit talking about his accolades. So we have page 1 talking about how he was the chief attorney for the forensic division in Maryland's public defender's office. You hear the defender. All these people are associated with defending people, right? Um, but he has this great reputation. You know, he's been um, he's been actively involved in investigation and training and commentary related to issues arising at the intersection of DNA technology and the law. Another attorney, we went over this once before. It was really boring reading because it was just all about his training and how he trained other people and how he knows the law. And this really needs to be the standard, even though Idaho doesn't have these laws. This is the laws, in Maryland, and Maryland laws are so superior that some reason Idaho needs to incorporate those laws, and this judge is supposed to now pass new law in Idaho in order to allow them to do this DNA investigation. I mean, it's really that. I'm being facetious in a lot of this, but that's basically what they're saying. It really is. There's a lot of legal mumbo jumbo in here, but when you break it down and you're trying to figure out what the heck is this man saying, he's basically alleging that um, this being turned over, this investigative genetic genealogy testing, is required by law to be turned over to the defense. That's basically what he's alleging, and using all the information from other states to support that statement, which, again, I don't know how I feel about that. And then, of course, we have the reply to the motion for protective order from them, which we had already gone over. And they're arguing that they are entitled to this. They're entitled to the genetic matches. They're entitled to all this stuff that they're trying to exclude from the trial. And then we move over to the third affidavit. The third expert to argue this investigative genetic genealogy. The third, is she an attorney? Let me see if this one's an attorney or not. I can't remember. I've been reading so many. No, she's not an attorney. This is the first one that actually is not an attorney advocate for the defense. The other two were definitely defendant advocates. That's what they do. That's where they make their money. They make themselves available to the defense teams. In many cases, some of these, like this Becca Barlow, I can see where she's been used on both sides. I could see that. But Leah Larkin is pretty interesting, a pretty interesting read, to say the least, in her commentary on here. And I think that this one, I feel like they could have saved themselves a lot of money in these experts just by going with Leah Larkin. But I don't think Leah Larkin was found by Ann C. Taylor. And why do I say that? Because if you look at the affidavit of Bicla Barlow, let me pull it up. Pull up Bicla Barlow so you guys can see it with me. Is it? Here we go. It's on full screen. Give me just a second and I'll try to get it. There we go. Take this banner off. Don't forget to hit the like button on your way inside, guys. So Bicla Barlow, and I think it's like the second page. Hold on. Here it is. It's on page 2 of her affidavit. Page 2. This is page 1, so this is page 2, line 20. So here we go. This is what makes me believe that it was Bicla Barlow. I won't let me highlight it on here. But it says here at 20, I have reviewed the materials provided to the defense in the case regarding the DNA testing done, as well as numerous news articles regarding this case and the government's motion for protective order. It further states, is this the right one? Hold on. I think I was up too high. Oh, it's 24. So it says, I'm informed and believe via news reports that this case, Mr. Kohberger was initially identified as a possible suspect via new method called investigative forensic genealogy. Why isn't this? This is not what I'm reading on my paper. Hold on a second, guys. I think I got the wrong page. Oh, I do have the wrong page. I must have been way. Hold on a second. I don't think that was the true second page because I got the true second page in my possession. And it's not saying what I'm reading. Oh, it's above it. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong stuff. It's this one right here. Here it is. So it says, I have also, right here, I don't know if you guys can see my cursor or not, but it's right there on line 17, and it's at the end of the sentence. It starts with, I have also. So it says, I have also interviewed numerous expert witnesses in order to identify potential areas of interest to the defense. This Vicka Barlow actually, oh, shoot, my page just went up. Actually interviewed expert witnesses in this field. So I believe that this particular expert, Leah Larkin, was a recommendation of Vicka Barlow, because this is the only affidavit that I've read so far that has indicated one iota of doing their own interviews with experts. So I found that I didn't understand that at the time when we read it for Vicka Barlow, but now that we have this Leah Larkin affidavit, it makes me question that. Because also, this person here, let me see. Give me just a second. I'm pretty sure this person here is also from California. I could be wrong. California. So even Leah Larkin is also from California. So I, again, believe that it was Vicka Barlow that brought this particular witness to the forefront, probably somebody that she's worked with in the past. And this lady is pretty knowledgeable about information. And it goes on to say, that basically, I'll summarize it for you. It basically states that the methods are flawed, the results are flawed, and there are too many variables in the investigative genetic genealogy testing. That's basically what they're alleging. But the problem I'm having is they're trying to challenge this. That's not going to even be introduced into court. But here's the issue. And I'm going to put this in a poll format. And it's basically going to say, hold on, I'm going to type it up as we speak. Do you believe that Bryan BK's defense is entitled to the IGG, investigative genealogy, genetic genealogy testing information? It didn't even let me, hold on. I guess I forgot to put my questions in there. Let me just end that. I forgot to I thought it automatically put the questions in there, but I guess it doesn't. Oh, it's because I put it as a question instead of a poll. So, do you believe that BK defense is entitled to the IGG evidence information? I'll call it information. Okay, there we go. It is official. It's official. It's in the poll. We will dovetail back to that. But I want you guys, we have like 189 people in the chat right now. If you guys could go over there and take that poll, I'd greatly appreciate it. I'm just very, very curious. Let's see, Cindy. It's a quadruple homicide. Oh, yes, Cindy, it's a quadruple homicide. it's really convoluted because I gotta be careful what I say because I know some information and I don't want to just blab it, but I know that they're going to be introducing somebody, and again, I don't know if it's going to be couched as a co-defendant, co-conspirator, or an anonymous, unnamed, unknown person. But there's going to have to be, they have to point the finger at somebody else. I mean, they just stuck him in his car. So it's not like they can use this, somebody was borrowing his car theory, right? Many people were using that as justification on why they thought Bryan Kohberger was innocent, is that he most likely let somebody else use his car. Well, that has been removed. He was legit in his own car. His defense has admitted so. His defense has admitted so. So you guys see why now we're having an open discussion. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on the phones for people if you guys would like to call in. You can. I'm gonna get it up. And then after this, we're going to go on our little merry ways today because I have a lot of work to do today since I was out gallivanting around and having a vacation day doing work. Sorry, you gotta be such a smart ass, don't I? Some people are stupid. They're just stupid. But either way, we were out in the heat. Oh my God, guys, this Florida heat. Holy smokes, dude. It was hot yesterday. It was hot. And we were back in Myakkahatchee Creek Environmental Park. I have to be honest with you. Olivia and I are out there chomping around. I'm looking at her. I'm like, girl, I said, it's been a while. I said, you can tell we're both out of shape. Like, we just did. Back in, 2 years ago, we didn't think about it. We just wanted answers. Like, the case was so crazy. All we wanted was answers. We wanted to know what happened. We wanted, we all just kind of gravitated to Gabby Petito and her case. And it was a hard case. It was one that was emotional. It was the most emotional case at the time because it was my only case that I had ever done, especially publicly. I've monitored cases over the years, but, I never even knew that there was this niche on, social media, people liking this stuff. I guess just naive. I don't know. It wasn't outside of Facebook. I didn't do a whole lot of social media. I just wasn't a social media person. But I was a big social media person when it came to Facebook. I mean, I was always Facebook. I don't even hardly go on Facebook. I go on Facebook like maybe once or twice a day just to check to see if I got messages and stuff like that. But we were just out here just really authentically trying to find information, but it was so incredibly hot out there. And I remember some of those days out there in that sun, it creeped up to almost 100 degrees out there. And we didn't think anything of it. Umbrellas, and we just did anything we could to help shade us, just to give us some not direct sun. I think we forgot about all that because literally all of our searches since Gabby Petito, think about it. We've been in cold areas, Idaho, Tennessee. We were out in Moab and Jackson Hole, Wyoming in the snow. We were in Idaho the first time in the snow. I hadn't seen snow in 20 years. And we were in Idaho, on the track of Gabby Petito's final days on Earth. And it was just been really cold. We've been in a lot of cold weather over the last 2 years, and not so much hot, sunny heat. I mean, even back with Quentin Simon, it was hot out there. We stood out there like I did a live out there for 9 hours, standing up. It was just information going through the entire case. It wasn't screaming or yelling or anything like that. I mean, I may have said, you need to get this chief of police out of office. I still believe that. I'm sorry, but you don't let a baby killer walk your streets on double probation. I'm sorry. That is, to me, I know a lot of law enforcement. That's just stupid. That's just stupid. And not only that, the risk that you put everybody else, oh, she just killed her son. Well, what happens if she gets pissed off at the next kid? She's got nothing to lose. Like, you don't risk your community because you think That's a big risk. You know that this person most likely murdered their kid, and you have a way to get them in behind bars while you wait to find out the answers. What's the purpose of having her on double probation if you have no way of getting her behind bars when she fails drug tests? Because let me tell you, I know a lot of people that have been on probation over the last 20 some odd years. And I know a lot of people that have violated their probation over the last 20 years. And one of the biggest violations of probation is peeing dirty. So you have a woman on double probation that cannot give you a clean urinalysis. That's straight to jail. That's what was so frustrating. That's what was so frustrating. And then to find her with other children, that was scary. And how dare people put their grandchildren in jeopardy because you don't want to believe that she killed her own son? Let me tell you, she did. And you just put your own child and your own grandchild in danger. Way to go. Great job. Great job. All right, so the phones are coming on. Let's go ahead, and if you guys have anything about Bryan Kohberger, this motion to compel, what do you guys really feel? Do you think that he's going to be able to get this investigative genetic genealogy testing, or do you think that the judge will deny it? I'm thinking the judge is going to be, well, I know that the judge is going to be fair. I think he overcompensates on the fair trial aspect. Like there is there is rule, he's entitled to a fair trial, but this judge has put everything else aside for the fair trial. He's not balancing it, in my opinion. That's just my personal opinion. It may not be your personal opinion. It may not be somebody else's personal. That's my personal opinion. I think he's this whole fair trial thing is grossly outweighed on Bryan's defense. I really do. I believe that he gives them just about anything and everything they want. And I think that the Moscow community in Layla County does the same exact thing, because look at all this money they're throwing at his case. What other defendant in Idaho is getting this type of A-team on the taxpayer's back? I have never seen this ever in my life, where they get 3 attorneys. They've got 3 high-powered witness experts that are costing a lot of money, by the way. All the testing they're doing, they're throwing a lot of stuff back on the state to do it because they don't want to spend their money, their resources that they've been allocated for their defense on stuff that they want the state to pay for. They keep saying, oh, we don't have the money for it. Well, you have the money for 3 attorneys. You have the money for 3 high-powered and very expensive experts, but you don't have the money to pay for the transcription? What? That's what they said. They have no money for the transcription. But they did have money after they told the courts that they didn't have money for the transcription. They did have money to pay yet another expert, Leah Larkin, to prepare her affidavit. But they don't have money for the transcript. Most asinine thing I've ever heard. The phones are on, guys, if you guys would like to call. I'm going to give it about 10 or 15 minutes, and just talk about some of the stuff I've been going through the procurement stuff. I have to be honest. There's so much there. There's so much on that spreadsheet. It's a lot to digest. Oh, thank you, Pat. God bless you. Thank you. So this is really it. All this stuff dovetails into one another. It really does. And you can tell the defense is concerned. They really need this IGG. And that's why they're putting so much money toward trying to get this discovery. It's because I think they're going to try to find some type of bridge. Now, it most likely won't be successful. Okay, just like the whole challenging of the jury and the grand jury. It's oh. Well, hello. Oops, did you do that? Hi, old lady O. How are you doing, love? That's okay. That's okay. How have you been? Oh, okay, I'll wait. All right. So how are you doing, love? Yes, it's always nice. So what say you about this whole Bryan Kohberger and all this stuff?
It just makes sense what they come up with.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. I agree. And this whole thing where they have three really high, but they're experts. But when you kind of look into their history, they almost seem like advocates.
Right.
I mean,
They're
I
just
should know. I mean, I
just
know my own
full of
kind.
strings.
So, what'd you say?
I just I said I feel like they just pull strings and everything, and it's been, it makes everybody go off on all sorts of tangents, and it's been cutthroat for some YouTubers even.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I do have to ask you one thing. This is just a poll, okay? There's no right or wrong answers here. Do you think the defense is going to get the investigative genetic genealogy testing? Do you think the judge is going to give it to him?
I don't think so.
Huh, interesting. Why?
I just don't think that they're going to be able to prove anything, and that the state doesn't really have much to do with it, and it was the FBI that did all the genealogy junk and stuff like that, so I think it's just that's what it is.
You know what? Oh, lady, oh, that's kind of where I'm at with it too. It's like, they're going to be for, but the FBI was a resource, and that's kind of where my hesitation comes in, because were they acting on their own accord, or were they acting as law enforcement under, I mean, even though they're the FBI, but under the investigation and under that Layton County investigation, like I don't know. That's where my contention comes in. That's what makes me kind of on the fence about whether he's going to deny it or approve it. But I agree with you. I don't think it should be approved. I think it's going to cause more harm than good.
That's
Not for the
right.
state. I mean, just for everybody involved. The people that came up in the matches. I mean, just the whole picture.
No, there's no need to bring in his other relatives and everything, because that doesn't go for the case.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Well, oh, lady, oh, thank you so much for calling in. It's nice to hear your lovely voice this wonderful morning.
Oh, thank you. Yours too.
Oh, God
I'll
bless
talk to
you.
you another time.
Uh-huh. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Oh, we always love hearing from O Lady O. Sorry, yeah, I forgot to change over to share that tab of my. Oh, I can turn the camera. I always turn the camera off because sometimes I find that having the camera, it does like this, kind of gives it a little bit more of a, I don't know, a lag. So sometimes talking over. So I always find if I turn the photo off, it just seems to flow better. I don't know why. Maybe it's just in my head. I don't know. It just seems that way. It just seems that way. Oh, I got to turn the phones back on. Yeah, and the other thing is I always turn the phones on when somebody calls in, because I don't like the dinging while they're talking. I feel like it's a distraction to me and it's a distraction to them. So I always like to do that. This is Betty.
Good morning, Andrea.
Well, good morning, Ruby. If anybody doesn't know this, this is Ruby. What is it? True Crime Podcast? Ruby Glamper.
Yes, the Ruby Pearl Glamper True Crime Podcast.
There we
Yes.
go. Let me do it. Hold on. I had to push.
Yay!
How are you doing?
Oh God, girl, this heat is about to kill me too. We had a bunch of storms roll through here. I mean, I'm back home in my glamper now, but we had storms roll through when I was at Ashley's, and then we had a storm roll through here yesterday. But as soon as it moves out, that humidity and heat goes right back up, and you walk outside, you can't breathe, you're pouring sweat, you're just dying.
The heat is taking the breath away from me. Like it is, like I walk out the front door and it's just like before you even get.
I know. I walk outside and it's like walking into a steam bath, and and your nose just starts pouring sinuses, and it just starts pouring sweat. I'm having a hard time keeping hydrated, and it's just dragging me down horrible.
Olivia's out there. So I'm getting dressed, yesterday morning after I got off the live, and I'm like, so are we going out to Myakkahatchee Creek? And she's like, yeah. I said, so I need like leggings, boots. And she's like, yeah. She's like, I got a dress and Crocs. I'm like, why would you bring your dress and Crocs? She's like, it's all I have. And I'm like, I might have something. She's like, I'll make it work. And we're up here, and she's like, what was I thinking? I said, I don't know.
Oh, I'd be out there in shorts and hiking boots.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I went with leggings. My leggings, she did pretty good. I mean, I was in leggings, and the thorns were coming through my leggings. Like my legs are scratched up. She didn't have a scratch on her. I'm like, how did she do that? I don't know. We were crawling over stuff. Like she was literally crawling over big logs and branches and trees. Like we had to crawl under and over trees to get back there.
I'm glad I live way out in the boonies where I can walk outside in my t-shirt and underwear. I can walk around in my bathing suit, because that's what in the summertime, I hardly wear clothes unless I have to go to town.
Yeah.
I'm out here in my bathing suit,
Well, it's funny.
Dilly-dallying around and going swimming in the lake and stuff.
Mm-hmm. I washed my bathing suit and I couldn't find it for the longest time, so I've been using one of my extra bathing suits. You have a favorite bathing suit. Every woman does, so don't laugh at me. Everybody knows.
Yeah, I know.
And so I'm wearing some bathing suits that aren't necessarily my favorite bathing suit. And then just the other day, because I was cleaning some stuff out, I'm like, oh, there's my freshly laundered bathing suit. It's under like apparently I washed it with the towels.
Yeah, I have one that I just kind of, wear around, and an old one that I just kind of wear around here. But if I go, down to the lake, I'll wear one of my nicer bathing suits. But if I'm just here at home, I've just got an old bikini that you don't want to know what all hangs out of.
Oh, I know. I like the taquitos.
I don't care, Betty. I don't care.
Yeah, I know, but I'm not a one-piece type of girl. I'm too old for bikinis. I think I'm well over the ripe age of a bikini. So I like the taquitos. I like those. They fit well. They're two pieces. You don't have to just use the restroom. Us older ladies like that.
Oh yeah, exactly. What I wanted to say about Bryan Kohberger, this sort of drums up different things for me. It drums up the OJ case, and it also drums up the West Memphis 3 case for me. And for anybody who doesn't know, I have been a long time advocate for the West Memphis 3. Now, whether or not you agree with, my opinions on that, because people have their opinions about that case as well. And I've got a lot of heat for being an advocate and supporter for them. But I don't think that the situation here with Bryan Kohberger is the same as it was with the West Memphis 3, or as it was even with OJ. OJ was a big high-profile person. The West Memphis 3 were the 3 weird kids in the neighborhood that they pegged for the murders. And then you've got Bryan Kohberger, someone who is not at all associated with the victims. As far as we know, he was not friends with them, did not know them, or had no association with their sororities or even the college. He went to a different college. So he has really no known reason for his DNA to be there. He's the shoe that don't fit.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't think that we want to find the murderer of these 4 kids, obviously. But I don't think this is a situation where the police are just trying to happen to find evidence against, somebody who's high profile, like OJ was, high profile evidence against the husband. This is not a situation where they are trying to peg the weird kid in the neighborhood for this crime, like they did with Damien, Jason, and Jesse. This is someone that there's no reason for the police to want to railroad him for this crime.
Yeah.
And I have to believe that these other DNA profiles obviously had purpose to be there, that they were worked up just as much as his was worked up.
Mm-hmm.
And, they investigated, I'm sure they investigated those other DNA profiles, and they, found that they had legitimate reason to be there, and Bryan's didn't. So I don't think this is a case of just trying to nail any Tom, Dick, and Harry they can for the murder, or the weird kid in the neighborhood, or the high-profile boyfriend, husband, a situation like that. But I think that what they're trying to do is to pull a Johnny Cochran and a Robert Shapiro. They're trying to attack the DNA evidence.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing they can do.
Yeah, and I think that the FBI has had to deal with this because the FBI is involved in a lot of high-profile cases. So they've had to deal with this whole genetic genealogy testing, and obviously the United States Department of Justice has made a protocol, and it's probably to keep them, less involved in these cases at court at trial time. I think I know they give like their liaisons, to the courts and as witnesses and stuff, but they really do shelter the FBI as much as possible out of these trials, I've noticed.
Right, and the genealogy testing is a new thing, and it's got some people's feathers ruffled. Some people think it's a violation of their privacy or whatever. That if you or I were to send in our DNA and do a 23andMe thing, that we could possibly be looked at for being kin to a murderer or something or whatnot. And
I don't know. I keep wondering.
It's kind of a controversial thing. I think it's an absolute wonderful thing because it has solved so many cold cases and stuff, and so I say we use it.
Yeah. And here's the other thing. What was I was just thinking of something that was related to DNA. It'll pop back into my head, but you had said something that sparked something in me related to the DNA, and I can't for the life of me remember what it was. Oh Lord!
And Bryan Kohberger is lucky that he's dealing with the level of technology that we have in DNA right now. Damien and Jesse did not have that luxury.
I know what
they didn't have the technology in DNA back then that Bryan has the luxury of having now. So
Yeah. So what I was thinking is, I'm wondering when they're going to when there's going to be a creative argument, about how they've waived their privacy rights. And here's how I can think that something like that could be argued is if you fail to we talk all the time about how all of our apps and everything, we give our privacy away to these companies that data mine us. If we're not protecting ourselves with those types of things, and we're not protecting ourselves from offering our DNA to companies, i.e. removing privacy from ourselves, can we really argue privacy later? I mean, obviously we are arguing privacy later, but what steps did we do to mitigate our privacy? And that's where I think that there's going to be some challenges, as people start getting creative on this privacy issue. I think it's going to come down to each and every one of us. What have we done to mitigate our personal business being put out there?
Right. Well, I feel like we as Americans have lost so many rights, to the government and whatnot. And, they're going to do what they're going to do with our information and our, privacy and all that kind of stuff anyway. So, but, if testing my DNA can help someone find a murderer and get justice for a victim, then I'm okay with it.
In normal circumstances, I would be okay with it too. But I am a privacy person, but I'm also one of those privacy people that allow my privacy to be freely given for luxury, like my Fitbit, or having my maps accessible anywhere in the world. And that's just kind of what I made a decision to do. But I am utmost privacy. But if somebody came to me and said, "Hey, we believe somebody might be related to you, killed somebody. Can we take your DNA and match?" I would be opening my mouth and saying, "Have at it." But even me, I gave my DNA back when I was naive. I wasn't, well educated on privacy and stuff like that. So back in my 20s, I wanted to know where I came from and submit my DNA to a company that I thought would protect my privacy. And now, being in this industry and going through these court documents, I'm learning, just recently, that my DNA is on profile up for law enforcement to use, and so to speak, maybe find a family member that's lost, dead, or has murdered somebody. I mean, I'm not sure. It was just one of those things where I was unaware that it would be a possibility of them using my specimen. I did not hand over to law enforcement, and law enforcement didn't get a search warrant for or a subpoena to obtain. Those are my issues.
Yeah, I mean, I was involved with a married guy going through a divorce back in the 90s. So I had a private investigator following me around. And, so I know what invasion of privacy feels like. And did I like it? No. Did I like someone having pictures of me that I didn't know anything about and stuff like that? I mean, yeah, it bothered me, but I just feel like we, have lost so many rights anyway that if something that like that can be used for the greater good, then I guess I'm all for it.
I'm all for it. I'm all for the greater good. I'm all for cooperating with law enforcement. But we also have to realize that there are overzealous people out there, and when it comes to the law, we want I's dotted and T's crossed, especially when somebody's life is on the line. And I think if there is an ability for abuse, I think if there's no laws there, it's easier to ask for forgiveness than it is for permission. And I think a lot of people use that.
Definitely.
And so that's what's concerning, and why I think it's very important to be above that. Law enforcement always do the right thing by getting a subpoena or getting the necessary paperwork in order to obtain that.
Yeah, I think that the reason why they want to know the method and all that was used in all this is because they want to try to attack it and attack the way that it's done and whatnot. And I can take you back to the West Memphis 3 case on that, because Damien is fighting to clear his name as well as the other boys, and so he has requested new DNA testing, and they decided to tell him, well, now that you're not in prison anymore, so you don't have any rights to have this DNA testing done in your case. But yet he got out on an Alford plea, which maintains that, I admit, you say I'm guilty, but I say I'm innocent. But it's a long story.
Alford plea basically is you're going to have evidence
that Alford plea was a mess.
Yeah, that proves that beyond a reasonable doubt, even though I maintain my innocence. Basically, what the
Yeah, it's a mess. But he's trying to get new DNA testing done, to clear his name, and we still want to know, who really killed those three little boys. But they won't do it, and they're giving him all these excuses. Why they can't do it, or why he's not entitled to it. And so he's it's being appealed to the Supreme Court. This has been a 30-year battle for those guys. So buckle up, Bryan Kohberger, because you got 30 years of fighting ahead of you.
I agree. Well, thank you
Buckle
so
up,
much.
Buttercup.
Yep. And we're going to end with that. Thank you so much, Ruby. You take care. God bless.
All right. You too, Andrew. Good talking to you.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
So, guys, that was really sorry, hold on. Keep hitting the wrong buttons. I'm a button pusher. What can I say? Anyways, that really is it, guys. We have a lot going on with this motion to compel. It's one of those things that I think is like, we've got several things coming up that are going to help the defense. And those several things is, that possibility of the second stay, because they're challenging the indictment. So I don't think that the indictment is really good. I don't think the challenges are really powerful. I don't think it's going to move the needle at all. But I think what she's going for is the full stay, just to buy herself some time, some additional time. That's really what they're trying to do here for the defense, is just buy them additional time without foregoing the speedy trial rights of their client. So it's a balance. And so she's attacking this to get, in my opinion, again, just my opinion, you guys may have a different opinion, but it's of my opinion that she's wanting that stay, not necessarily to be successful in the indictment. So really the meat and potatoes of the arguments that they're going to be having, in my opinion, is going to be on this motion to compel, because they really, really, really want this motion to compel. They really want that investigative genetic genealogy testing, because then they have a little more meat to the bone to try to challenge the DNA. Even though the DNA that was done in the Idaho State Police lab is done probably properly and everything, they just need something, because she's going to go for another stay to explore some stuff. You see how this is going? So she's setting herself up to buy time in this case, and that's where this is, in my opinion, going. And why are they wanting to buy time? They're wanting to buy time because there's an overwhelming amount of evidence. And when you have an overwhelming amount of evidence, you want to be able to spend the proper time to investigate that. It would have been different if he had an attorney and the attorney was being prepared for this case, before it happened, right? Then they would be probably more positioned better in the evidence department, because they would have already done their own due diligence before he committed the crime to get some stuff, and everybody's like, who would do that? Exactly my point. Who would do that? Nobody's going to call an attorney and say, hey, I'm planning on, in an imaginary world, there's somebody that's planning on executing 4 people that have no connection to them. What laws and legal resources do you have to help me help this anonymous person from being caught? Who does that? Pretty much, if other defendants would actually do that, you probably would stay out of jail, right? But nobody does that. And you got to think that they're behind the 8 ball. They didn't have an opportunity to prepare before the charges. He was arrested. Nobody knew of him. And nobody knew of him until December 30th. So all that evidence that law enforcement got from November 13th up to December 30th, when he was arrested, is a lot of information. It's a massive amount of paperwork. Think about it. At some points in this case, there were 60 some odd people working on this case. The defense has 3. And probably, obviously staff. So you'd have to think you've got 3 attorneys. Probably all 3 of those attorneys have maybe their own assistant. Even if maybe Ann C. Taylor has her own assistant, and Jay and the other one, I can't remember her name. It'll probably pop up. But the other gal that's there, the dark haired gal, they may have an assistant that they share. I don't know. I don't know how that whole system works. So they may have a team of 5 to 8 people working on this. And it's 3 attorneys and maybe 2 to 5 assistants or paralegals helping them with the legal research and other cases. So, you do have a team there. There is a team. But with Bryan Kohberger, they still didn't have, so you got 8 people to 60, right? So you have to expect it if they were able to produce all this information in this short amount of time with this huge, massive task force, and you hand it over to 8 people, it's going to take, let's say 5 people. Let's be conservative about this because 8 people means they can get through it with 3 extra bodies quicker, right? So let's say for 5 people, let's say there's 3 attorneys and 2 assistants on the case, maybe 1 legal assistant and maybe 1 paralegal or 2 paralegals. So 6 people conservatively, 5 to 6 people conservatively. It's going to take them 10 to 20 times longer to review that evidence than monitoring it as it's coming in. So they've got to backtrack, and they don't know the processes of it. And what about the reports that aren't in there? There's going to be some reports that the state has that the defense isn't going to have because it's work product or has another privilege attached to it. What do you do with that? Either way, that's kind of the nuts and bolts of it. I really truly believe that this is going to be a problem for the defense, especially if they can't get this particular if they can't get this particular evidence that they need. The challenging of the DNA is not going to be, they're not going to really have that much of an argument, in my opinion, because they need to have some meat to the challenge. And even though they know that this investigative genetic genealogy testing is going to eventually be irrelevant, it gives them more meat to the bone to argue that argument. And that's where they're trying to position themselves. Again, in my opinion. So with that, guys, I want you guys to have an amazing Saturday. Go out and have a great time. Don't forget to be advocating for Layla Santanello. We're still trying to help her family out. I mean, I'm glad to see her face being on more thumbnails on social media, primarily here on YouTube. So, great job, guys, and keep that momentum going. Make sure you're talking about her. She still hasn't been found. There's a lot of unknowns. Who was she with? Who was she last seen with? Somebody knows something in Kingsport, Tennessee. Somebody knows something. Somebody knows something. So if you're in that underbelly world and you know who Layla Santanello is, put your feelers out. If you're scared, you can reach out to me, bullhornbetty@gmail.com, bullhornbetty@gmail.com. You can give me your information. I will get it over to the right places that need to have it. If you're too scared to stand up and say something, this family needs help. I will go to bat for you. Just let's start getting the leads flowing into Kingsport Police Department, the leads flowing into TBI. Layla Santanello's life matters. It doesn't matter what path she's ever walked down. She matters. She's somebody's mother. She's somebody's sister. She's somebody's daughter. That matters. So I understand that there is an underbelly of society out there in Tennessee, and I know that, and I don't judge you. I don't judge any of you. But for the grace of God, there go I. I don't judge. But if you have information and you're too scared to pick up the phone and call the Kingsport Police, send me the information, the real information. Send it to me. I will get it to them. I promise. I will not bring it live. I will not post it up. I will not tell my sources. But this family does need your help. And I hope you step up to the plate and do it. Because you know what? Especially those that are out there living, a rough lifestyle, this could have been you. And would you have wanted somebody to turn their back when your family's looking for you. I'm giving you a way out so you don't have to deal with law enforcement. Please use it. Please use it. Thank you. Thank you for the reminder. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So the poll is end the poll. The poll for whether Bryan Kohberger is entitled. Wow, we are close to 50-50 on this with the audience. 52% believes he is not entitled to it, while 47% believe he is entitled to it. So again, I think even our chat is on point with me. Like it's hard to really. Usually we have a good, clear directive in situations like this, but this one has challenging legal arguments to it, and they are challenging because, again, it's not going to be used in court. They found him the old-fashioned way. However, the FBI utilized a tool for a lead. So again, is it discoverable or is it protected? We're going to have to wait to the 18th to find out. But there's all the information you guys need to know. And just for the recap for the people that are straggling behind, we went over the motion to compel. And basically what we'll just do a quick rundown on it. So obviously the state did this motion for protective order, which was directly related to the investigative genetic genealogy testing that the FBI did. And they're saying basically they want to protect the multiple witnesses that would have been produced from their research. So that was the protective order. And then, of course, shortly thereafter, Ancy Kohberger, I did that the other day. Ancy Taylor, she ends up filing a third motion to compel, compelling them to turn over the information, all of the information, including private emails related to the investigative genealogy, genetic genealogy, and the family tree and how they made the family tree up. And basically what the state is saying is that our sources, they have to follow certain guidelines, and certain guidelines are set forth by the Department of Justice. And the Department of Justice requires them, when they're done with their work, that they immediately destroy all the information related to it. That's their protocol. So they don't understand, how they can turn over stuff that doesn't exist and that they don't have in their possession. And then they have this affidavit for the state, basically saying the Idaho State Police does not use the same type of genetic material to identify people as these genetic genealogy databases and companies use. And they don't use it. They don't test. They don't use it for any of their testing. And so that's basically what this is. It says Idaho State Police does not test for SNP. SNP is the type of DNA test that the genetic genealogy test companies use. So the Idaho State Lab is providing under penalty of perjury that they don't use that testing. And they're the ones that are providing the test for the trial. And then you have several different motion or affidavits in support. One from a Micah Barlow that we went over, a month or so ago, and she's just basically alleging that law enforcement abused the system, that there's really no official oversight, and it's making for law enforcement to go outside of the scope to look for things. Basically, she's alleging abuse of the genetic genealogy testing sites by law enforcement. That's basically what this novel is basically accusing the state and law enforcement of doing. And then it's followed up by Stephen Mercer, which has a tremendous resume, by the way. I mean, he's done a lot of teachings. He's a professor. He discusses laws. He's had opinions written. He's a really well-to-do, known guy from Maryland that basically is saying that this is this was used in the investigation, and therefore it's discoverable by the defense and should be turned over to the defense. And then, we have the reply from the state arguing that this genetic genealogy means nothing. They're not going to use it. It was literally a tool the FBI used to generate a lead that they turned over to the police department, is basically what they're arguing. And then lastly, you've got this, the one that's most recently filed by Layla Larkin in the case. And she's just basically alleging in her affidavit, just summarizing it, that the methods are flawed, the results are flawed, and there are too many variables. So they're showing that they have a right to have this, and they have the right to challenge the evidence. And that's what those 3 affidavits really were supporting. And the reason why BICA's had to be in there is because they can allege that until they see it, they don't know if law enforcement broke rules, did things outside of what the rules are required, because law enforcement has historically, pushed through the laws, whatever they said. It's just an argument, okay? It's not something to be all tied up into, but this could be something. I mean, and that's why I'm bringing it up, because it does directly relate to DNA, and it directly relates to DNA found at the location where this crime committed, and directly relate to the suspect accused of the crime. So this, I almost feel like the indictment and the stay is just a distraction from the real argument that they need to have related to this investigative genetic genealogy testing and family tree that they did. So I wish I could have a crystal ball. Usually I'm able to stand on a position, and in this argument, I can't. They both do have very good arguments when it comes to this investigative genetic genealogy testing, but I don't know if they're entitled to it. I really don't. I won't be able to know that until we actually hear them arguing the case and explaining why this law or this case law is not the authority, that this case law is really the authority. I can't decipher that until we see the argument in play, at this hearing on the 18th. So I'm really interested. We got 6 more days, and they are going to be arguing this very same thing. So I'm very interested. That's my commentary on it. This is going to be really interesting. I want to see how this works out and what the judge is really going to order. And why is this important? Because this will help us. DNA is a big thing. This genetic genealogy, the forensics, the investigative portion of this genetic genealogy testing is starting to make its round. So we're going to start seeing more and more arguments challenging this testing and stuff like that. I think the best thing that the state and law enforcement can do is get subpoenas for it. That would stop a lot of this nonsense if you just got subpoenas for it. But the problem is once you have the subpoena, it is then discoverable. So they may be trying to work in a loophole of the law in this aspect. And you guys know how I believe about skirting and the spirit of the law. I believe that people should act in the spirit of the law. They should not be finding ways to skirt the law. You utilize things to benefit you, but to skirt the law, that's, especially in a court environment, I really, really frown upon that. In political environments, I really, really frown upon that. So for defense, however, it's kind of funny, because if it was them, I would almost apply the fair trial rule, right? We can't do it, but they might be able to get away with it type of analogy, right? So I know those things, and it's like, I can't remember the old adage, not for me, do as I say, not as I don't know. That's not the one I was doing. But anyways, you guys get my drift. Anyways, it's been a great time hanging out with you guys. Thanks for those that participated and called in. What great statements. What great questions. I'm glad to always hear from you guys. You guys really do brighten up my day, and I hope I brighten up your day as well. And before we leave, I just want to give a big shout out to the channel sponsors today. The channel sponsors, Lulu's, Nana, nice to see you. Sonia, oh, wow, it didn't show me that. God bless you, Sonia. Sonia donated 5 Bullhorn Betty memberships. So if you were a recipient of that wonderful gift from Sonia, please don't forget to tell her thank you. And God bless you. Thank you from me as well, Sonia, for being just a lovely person and always trying to do right and do great things. I appreciate you. Pat Gaines, because I love your channel. God bless you and thank you so very much. Tammy was a 3-month member. Oh, Lady O, a 3-month member. God bless you, ladies. You beautiful, beautiful ladies. Oh, Lady O, love to you, Betty. Coffee Club and mods. You're so sweet as always. And followed by, lastly, Pat Gaines for her 5-month membership. God bless each and every one of you. You guys have an amazing Saturday, an amazing weekend. We'll be back here tomorrow afternoon for some more information on one of the cases. Which one? Most likely Rex Heuermann. As you can imagine, we've got a lot of information that I know for a fact my audience hasn't seen, touched, or heard. So we will be going over tomorrow afternoon. We're going to spend some time taking a deep dive in to Rex Heuermann. So I can't wait to be with you guys. See ya. And until next time, don't forget to be fearless. If you see something, say something. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Don't forget to be kind to one another and stay safe.
As you wake up in the morning, you want to find the latest, greatest information about criminal cases and have an intuitive conversation about the suspects associated with these cases. Head over to the Bullhorn Betty channel on YouTube. Get breaking news right here on the Bullhorn Betty channel. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty Coffee Club. Enjoy your stay and enjoy your day.